Welcome to Plant-Based Large Family. I hope the wind doesn't mess up the video too much. We are harvesting some lettuce from under this tunnel that needs to be recovered from all the wind. Under this tunnel we have some good kale and but I went ahead and planted carrots and beets underneath here. I've done a video on how I plant in Back to Eden Garden, but some other people were asking, and so I said I'd do this for my fall crops. So I already planted a row of carrots right there, and I've gone ahead and raked back and put down, well, I'll show you over here. I raked back, you can see how it's darker, that's where it's been raked back. And then I have my seed mats, and then these are beets, and so I've planted these, or I've glued these on my seed mats every 4 inches, which I just do it on toilet paper rolls, and each toilet paper roll is, or each section is 4 inches apart. So it's really easy to do beets, they're 4 inches, really easy to do carrots, they're 2 inches apart. Anyway, so I put this down, I put down the toilet paper, and then I take some mulch. I try to take the mulch that's kind of not huge, so like I'll throw that to the side. But I take the mulch and I cover the toilet paper. Okay, so the toilet paper is covered, but I want to show you how much it's covered. You see how I barely, sorry, bugs. I barely moved mulch and toilet paper was showing. So I'm just covering it enough to cover the toilet paper, and then so the seeds can go ahead and get through. So the seeds, even small seeds like carrot seeds, will pop through this mulch and do really well. But I won't have to come back later and put more mulch down. So it's less work in the long run. I feel like it's not a lot of work right now either. But anyway, so I will just continue to do this, and then I will cover the tunnel again. And it rained last night, a huge storm, so they got watered. So that's good. We are harvesting lots of raspberries, only because of the netting. Thankful to my husband. We're actually harvesting less tomatoes, I think, just from the 100-degree heat. They slowed down a little bit, but still plenty for us to eat fresh. Let's see, we're harvesting some carrots. Plenty of eggplants. We love eggplants. I'm very thankful that we grew all the eggplants this year. What else are we harvesting? Okay, so the watermelon. Last week I was super disheartened from the watermelon. We found out it was crows, not raccoons. So the good news is the fencing works. The raccoons still aren't getting in. Bad news is the crows were getting in, and they were eating about 3 to 6 watermelon a day. They would get into them. So I started just leaving the watermelons out there. So I was like, at first we were throwing them to the chickens as soon as they got into them, and then I thought, well, now they're just going to get into new ones. So we left them out there, and they just came and ate more and more each day. So they're just flying in like 7, 8 at a time. The reason we thought it was raccoons is because, well, they've gotten them in the past, but also the scratching, all the scratching. But this hole is big, but that's like 3 days worth of a hole. It started off very small, just a literal hole. And what we found odd is that raccoons would generally eat everything out of it, and whatever was getting this was just eating a little bit each time. So that's why we were because we thought certainly their beaks can't be that strong, but they are. I put a very crude cage over two of our biggest watermelons because I didn't want those gotten into, and then you can see we've cut down some blackberry canes that are starting to die. See the brown? That is blackberry canes, so I put blackberry canes around the watermelons, but that actually didn't work because the crows are still getting into them even with the blackberry canes. So I put some cages, and then today my husband put up more netting and more scare tape to keep the crows away. So we'll see if that works. We don't eat a ton of watermelon. It's like, how many watermelon can you eat? But, you know, I think 4 to 6 would be a good amount for us before we kind of get sick of them. And they were just, we've thrown probably 30 to the chickens. And what we could eat a ton of is cantaloupe. And so I'm really trying to protect my cantaloupe. There's cantaloupe down there. So I put some fencing and blackberry canes around those. And then these, I'm sure they'll get into them, but I don't have any more fencing, and the blackberry canes weren't really working, and they're underneath the nettings with scare tape. So I'm hoping possibly that'll keep the crows away. So the night that the days that the crows were getting into the watermelon beds, they were also getting into the strawberries, and we stopped being able to harvest strawberries. Since then, since my husband's put up the netting and all the scare tape, we are now harvesting strawberries again, so that is awesome. We're harvesting cucumbers. I think that's all we're harvesting. As far as other new things, I planted spinach and lettuce, a lot of lettuce, a little bit of spinach just because I ran out of room. And I'm covering it just because I find that in the late summer, for some reason, I don't know if it's cutworms or if it's birds or what it is, but they'll come up fine. It's not the heat that keeps them, from coming up or whatever. But once they come up, once they sprout, something gets them. This was the place where I had a whole bunch of green beans planted. And we ripped all of that up because they weren't producing anymore. I have more green beans over here that I've planted. And then I need to plant more. I don't know where I'll plant them. I may plant them right over here next week. But yeah, so started on my fall planting. Sweet potatoes are doing great. And here this spring I had lettuce and spinach, and I had a volunteer tomato. And so today I planted some peas, and it is sprinkling right now. If it doesn't give us a good rain, then I'll go ahead and water that to get it started growing. The last thing, I guess, is asparagus. We've been harvesting asparagus on and off. And I don't know if I ever showed you guys parsley, but yeah, we've been getting parsley out of the garden too. That's been nice. So that is our Back to Eden garden, beginning of August. A lot more upbeat than last week. I will see you next week. Have a great week.